I'm John Batchelor. 2 a.m., August 9th, 1945. The second attack on Japan with an atomic weapon. Importantly, this is all the United States has at the moment. The uranium bomb, U-235 at Hiroshima, the plutonium bomb at Nagasaki. But the original target is Kokura, and how Nagasaki it becomes the secondary, and what part of Nagasaki is struck is part of the tale, the accident, the fate of these tragedies. Charles Pelegrino is the author of To Hell and Back. This is the last train from Hiroshima. The trains have moved from Hiroshima to Nagasaki. The survivors of the first blast have arrived in Hiroshima or are arriving the next morning. We're back on Tainan, where a man by the name of Charles Sweeney, U.S. Army Air Force, will lead the second attack in a B-29 called Boxcar. Charlie, Fred, the Boxcar is named for Fred Box, but he's not going to fly the aircraft with the plutonium bomb. Charles Sweeney's going to fly it. His co-pilot is Dan Albany. As I understand it right now, they're looking at the possibility that the targets are not good ones, that they're going to be obscured by clouds, or that by the time they get there, there won't be a good visual. Why is that a problem?
Right. Well, for one thing, there was very bad weather beginning to approach Japan, so they had to get up and into Japan on August 9th, no matter what, because it was going to start getting much worse, according to the forecast that they had from planes and ships. And the two targets, the primary target was Kokura, which on August 9th, Kokura would have been clear, except that during the fire bombings during the night leading up to the morning of August 9th, they had firebombed a town near Kokura. When the mission started, the wind was blowing the smoke opposite of Kokura, but the wind had shifted by the time Charles Sweeney was going to get there.
In addition, there was a technical problem, a mechanical problem with Boxcar. It wasn't pumping all the fuel that it was carrying, and that shortened its range. So Sweeney and Tibbets, commanding the 509th, conferred. Sweeney made the call to go. Right.
They had about 600 gallons of fuel that were locked up in one of the extra bags that contained fuel to make the two-way trip. And he figured out that as long as they didn't run into any problems, any delays, have to keep circling around a target, and as long as they didn't have the site, the primary or the secondary, completely clouded over, they'd be able to make the run and get back to Tinian Island.
Of course, that's exactly what's going to happen. Everything can go wrong that will now go wrong. All right, 2:56 a.m. is my note here. Liftoff of Boxcar is flying with great artiste. Enola Gay is not flying this mission, but all of these aircraft have been rebuilt to carry the bombs. So are they all capable of carrying the plutonium bomb?
Right. It was actually in the original design that these planes were being built to carry atomic bombs, and they didn't have to do a great deal of modification for each of the atomic bomb carriers.
The approach to Japan is trying to strike at Kokura. The Japanese are not going to be fooled this time. 3 B-29s coming in are going to be suspect of the original attack in Hiroshima 3 days later. But they don't use any deception here. There's no great mass of B-29s that they're emerging out of. They're just going to fly this straight into what looks to be heavy flak and possible fighters coming up to reach them. Is that correct?
Right. And Kokura, unlike Nagasaki, was a heavily defended target.
And approaching Kokura, there are decisions that need to be made about the flaks. I emphasize that, if you have to review this is not good planning. One flak strike, that bomb is gone.
Right. The plutonium bomb was much more complex than the uranium bomb, so it could not be armed in flight. It had to be armed at takeoff. So if anything happened, yes, the bomb could blow up inside the plane.
And I think it's at this run that the Sweeney, who's commanding Boxcar, is told, you know, they've got the fuses set exactly to our altitude. They're just off a little bit. They're bracketing us as they're flying into Kokura.
Right. That they were basically creeping right up the plane's tail.
Just in case you thought this was going to be easy, the first pass, he calls off the run. He can't get in, so they come around for a second pass. He's short fuel. He's flying into a carpet of very good anti-aircraft fire. The Japanese are very good. They're using radar-controlled anti-aircraft fire, and there are fighters down there, and he makes a second pass, and he makes a third pass. So this is why Sweeney gets in trouble with Tibbets later, right?
Right. It's there's still people to this day. There's the Tibbets camp, the Sweeney camp, and people who thought Sweeney should have been court-martialed for risking the bomb. But then there was his reasoning. He knew the much higher civilian population of Nagasaki, and he said he would do everything he had to do to try to drop that bomb on what was the military target.
He cannot get to Kokura, so they go for the secondary, Nagasaki. However, they don't have visual, and they were told they must have visual. What do?